I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I'm just going to try putting a sock over my microphone to like cut the plosives. It's a clean sock, don't worry. Um, Alright, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, V-guitar lovers all around the world. Dolly coming at you from South Korea. I come to you bearing great news. For those of us who love the VG-99 and who have been very saddened by uh, its lack of compatibility with the magnificent Apple M1 devices, magnificent in terms of performance, maybe not so magnificent in other ways, but it has been essentially since the M1 devices came out, we've had no particular way of managing the VG-99 editor and librarian with the device. Now, you can still use them via on Intel machines via parallels and setting up the network MIDI with the RTP. Was it RPT or RTP? Anyway, you can set up on the Windows side network MIDI, and you can then port the MIDI from one side to the other using network MIDI. But frankly, it's a real pain in the butt. Now, if you take a look down here, you can see that there's a VG-99 editor on here, and this is definitely an M1 device. I kid you not. I'm not going to go into the settings and show you all my information, but it's definitely an M1. It's on Monterey 12.1. So, did a bit of hunting around, and because I knew about Wine, right? So I guess it's kind of like Windows emulation or something where you could run Windows apps inside macOS, but it seems to be only compatible up to a certain point. So if you've got legacy devices, you can maybe run those apps in there. But the point is, like, if you're on a modern device, then it doesn't work. So useless. So after a bit of searching around, I came across this site. The company's called Code Weavers. They have this software called Crossover. Crossover, in its description, where's this description? Blah blah blah. We're rebels. We're misfits. Best marketing department. We're software liberators, and we're very good at what we do. I think they are probably very good at what they do. And they talk down here. We invented Crossover software, a unique approach to cross-platform compatibility that does not require dual boot or another OS license. Okay, so that's the key thing. Now, I recommend downloading the free trial. I've already select your operating system. There you go. I've already downloaded the trial, so I'm not going to bother doing that again. Anyway, it will turn up in your download folder. It'll just come in here as a zip file. You unzip it, and then you get an app which you drag directly into your applications folder. So it's called Crossover. You can see there's an application here. Doesn't require any special installation or anything. You just drag it in. So let's launch it. First time you launch it, after you've dragged it in, you'll have to press Control and click to open, so it will allow you to open it. I'm going to hit try now because I've got it on a trial, and it's going to launch now. As you can see, I've got this thing over this bottle over here on the left called Roland VG-99 and VB-99. And if you look in the next column, you can see these two folders that contain the key files from the Windows installation of these products. Okay, now I've already done this. I've already set it up. So basically the way it works is it installs a whole bunch of these files here. They pop up in your launcher, and you can drag them around wherever you want them. I took this one and dragged it down to the bottom of the screen here. So what happens, I just deactivate Crossover. If I click on the VG-99 editor now, try now, okay, I guess that won't happen if I buy it, but for now it happens, and seamlessly, look at the speed of the data coming down to the device. It works just like that. Well, not just like that. You did have to do the installation, and you do have to, of course, do the setup MIDI device, which requires you to have your VG-99 connected via a 5-pin DIN MIDI to USB connector. I think I've got into the details of how I do that in past videos, but essentially the 5-pin DIN goes through a USB, what do you call it, converter, adapter. It goes into the host port of my audio interfaces. Yeah, the host port of my audio interface, which then runs over USB to the computer, and all the ports which are on the host there are visible to my computer here. So there's my interface, and I've got this device here called V-Guitar, which is basically where the VG-99 connects. And don't worry about that. That's just for some other purposes. So if I go into the setup here, I just choose a V-Guitar, bam, and that's it. It just like you saw before, it just launches and it grabs the data at great speed. It also doesn't go through all the sysx on-screen stuff like you get using some of the third-party editors, and also it allows for full, if you use the librarian, it allows for full dumps via, so in either direction, from the VG-99 to the software, or from the software to the VG-99, zero issues. So this one's also in setup, I believe. Yeah, that's all good. That does take a little while, so like to transfer data. So I'm not going to show you that now, but just to prove that it's working, I'm just going to focus on there, and you can see that on the screen here, I'm running a dual path thing. I'm going to turn B off. There we go. Try again. Boom. Off. That was my finger. That wasn't the software. And there's B off. What about activate the tuner? There we go. Turn the tuner off. All of this works as you would expect it. Yeah, I mean, the dials have always been a bit dodgy on the software. But yeah, I mean, they work. You can use the up and down keys. So there it is. It's amazing. It works really well. I didn't, obviously go deeply into the process, but I don't think it would require it too much. Okay, maybe just by way of explanation, we can do a trial install. I'll install the VG-99 editor. I'll install it to a new bottle. I'll select bottle. Okay, I'm going to just use new Windows 10 bottle. That'll do. And I'm going to call it test for VG-99 editor. Okay, done. Select installer. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to choose unlisted application. I'm going to continue. I'm going to go install. It's going to do its thing. Doesn't take too long. It launches the installer for Windows. It's all super easy. Just click through. It's installing. And it's done. Okay, so now it's going to do a little song and dance, and there we go. Test for VG-99 editor. You can see the folder there, and you can see the software. You'll also notice that in the Launchpad, it's installed a second version of these. Now, okay, for the purposes of demonstration, I will open up the editor. That's the librarian. I'm going to open the editor. Alright, it's opening. Same thing with the MIDI devices. It wants them to be set up because it's a new instance of the software. I love the way it just knows the MIDI ports are there without having to do any crazy network stuff. And you'll see when we open it for the second go. Boom. Like butter, mate, like butter. So there you go. Look at the speed. It's so fast getting the data. Like when I was doing it through network MIDI, it was probably half the speed. Okay, so there we go. That's great. It's all done. I'm actually going to delete that because we don't need tests anymore. I've got it set up for my system. Okay, so a couple of other points to mention are that it's taking its sweet time, isn't it? With the VG-99, as opposed to pretty much all of the other Roland devices of that ilk and that have USB connectivity, The VG-99 and the VB-99 are the only two devices that I'm aware of that have class compliant audio connectivity. So if we have a look over here, I've got my device set in advanced mode at the moment because usually I use it with a different computer. But anyway, it's not visible in the devices here, even if I restart Core Audio. Oh dear, that was a total noob mistake. Never ever reset Core Audio when you're in the middle of a screen recording. It is a surefire way to bring everything to a screaming halt. Now I think what I was trying to say before I lost everything and had to come back was that if you are using the VG-99 in standard driver mode, you have access to these two channels here. They're both 16-bit audio, 2 in, 2 out. You can create an aggregate device like so, and you can add ins and outs, and then you've got, probably just want to clock them to each other just to be safe, and then you can use that in the place of a VG-99. I'm not sure that there's any benefit to doing it that way. I don't think there is, but anyway, you can do that. We'll have a look at how it works over here. So when you're in live, you can use the VG-99 in, out. These are separate in and outs. macOS enables you to have separate in and out audio devices under Core Audio. So, okay, it's working now. I'd accidentally muted the DAW output going through to ScreenFlow. Okay, so with the VG-99 as is, we can take it down to 32 samples, a 50% CPU usage, and around 70, I think it'll start to freak out. Okay. There we go. We go over 70, you're bound to have problems. Of course, at 64, no problem. I'd probably run it at 128 to be on the safe side, but if you're feeling dangerous, take it to 64 or 32 and be careful. Okay, so Core Audio, if we just turn that off and we turn it on again, only in the application, we should have access to, we don't have it, I'll have to restart the application. We'll restart it here. And I'll use the aggregate version of the VG-99. Should be visible now. There we go. And I think what you'll find exactly the same performance if I take it to 32. Oh, it's not exactly the same, is it? The overall latency measures a little bit differently. Yeah, I mean, it is performing, in terms of measurements, basically the same. But when you do it as the aggregate, it's showing 13.4 as opposed to when you use the individual devices. Okay. When you do it that way, it's, I guess it's still overall latency. Well, it's quite a big difference, isn't it? But at that kind of latency, you're not really detecting it anyway, unless you're superhuman. You have superhuman hearing. Okay, so I probably wouldn't bother with this aggregate, but it's up to you. The other possibility is that you could add it as an input only source, maybe into like this aggregate. I could put the VG-99 input at the tail, and then I could route the input to any of the other devices for output. But that's theoretical. Okay, so we're not going to be doing that anyway. So cool thing is, if you do it this way, you have access to standard mode Core Audio. Class compliant Core Audio. Class compliant audio. It's through macOS Core Audio. Okay, that's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? Okay, so that's cool. That's basically everything you need to know. You've got full access to everything you need on M1 for your VG-99 now. It's life couldn't be better. I wanted to mention the Intel devices though. If you do have an Intel device and you're running Monterey, as we're doing here, you can do the same thing with code weavers and run the VG-99 editor under that. I've tested on my other device and it works. Or you can run it on Parallels like we were doing before and use the round trip protocol, so what it's called, RTP MIDI, to send network MIDI between the two devices. And that's fine. And the other cool thing, about using the Intel devices is that, and I'm not exactly sure of the reason why, because I change operating systems or flip and flop between operating systems quite a bit, so it could be a leftover from a previous installation, but when I'm running Monterey and my VG-99 is connected to it via USB, the advanced audio driver is displaying in the audio MIDI setup. There you go, it's gone. So on the Intel Mac, when you come and look over here, you'll see VG-99, not 1 and 2, just a single device with 44.1 beside it in the name. That indicates that it's the advanced driver, and when you look over here, you'll see 24-bit and 44.1. So a single device shows the ins and outputs. And it also has some access. You'll see this pop up. You have some access to MIDI, but it's limited in that you can only send MIDI from your computer to the VG-99. So say if you want to change presets or something, cool, no problem. Send program change messages from your DAW and you'll be cooking with gas. However, you can't send messages from the VG-99 back to the computer, so you have to use the 5-pin MIDI to USB adapter again. But it's the same deal, just the benefit is you get the advanced audio driver. I'm not sure if you can install the advanced audio driver when you're already in Monterey. Maybe it was because I updated to Monterey from Mojave and the drivers were intact or something. But anyway, it works. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. I think I could just leave it there. Is there anything else to add to that? Other than the VG-99 is awesome. No, I think that's about it. So, I'm wearing my VG-99 t-shirt. What a surprise. Season's greetings to you all. I hope you found this video useful. Please don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to tell anybody they should spend money on this if they don't have the money or they just think it's not worth it. I just think it's good to know that you've got the option. And like I said, it didn't seem that there was another wine option that would work under M1. There was one thing on Wine HQ that said it was M1 compatible, but I did some searching around and it looked a bit complicated to install, and some people were saying don't bother with it, just go for crossover. So yeah, so I'm going to leave it there. Hope to be back with more videos in the new year. Been a bit off my game this year. I hope that everybody is well. I hope you found this useful, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care of yourselves, people. Nighty night.